start playing. This is for Dave and Arlene for giving us 30 years of a beautiful radio station, WSLR. They're not quite country, but they're a little bit country.
Dave, can I get a little more?
And they turn us on
Acoustic guitar.
because they're a radio. And the lines are always open. Well, if you're driving in town with a dark cloud above you, dialing the number who's bound to love you. Oh, honey, you turn me on. I'm a radio. I'm a country station. I'm a little bit corny to me. Wildwood flower waving for you. Broadcasting tower waving for you. And lying sitting out there signal here. Hope you come pick it up loud and clear. And I know you don't like weak women. You get bored so quick. And you don't like strong women because they're hip to your tricks and they spin dirty for dirty down the line. But you know how come on you whistle when you're loving a guy. But if you got too many doubts and if there's no good reception for me, then tune me out. Cause honey, who needs the static? It hurts the head. And you wind up cracking and the day girls just go from breakfast barney to the side. Oh friend, what a sorry face you get to wear. No, I'm gonna tell you again now if you're still listening there, if you're driving. So you're driving into town with a dark cloud above you, dialing the number who's bound to love you. And if you're lying on the beach with the transistors calling, kick off the sandflies. I mean the love's still flowing and it says fucking it, but your heart's still smoking. Gonna hit the station, the lions are open. David Arlene, the lines are always open for you at WSLR. Thank you so much for everything you've done. We've loved every year of it, from Braden to now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, next.
Let's hear it for Joni Adno and the band. What a great way to start tonight. Thank you, Joni. Joni singing Joni. Thank you. My name is Paul Saray. I'm a member of the WSLR Board of Directors, and I am here to welcome you to a very special evening on a very special night in a very special place filled with very special people. Welcome. Of course, we are here to honor two ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Dave Beaton and Arlene Sweeting, our founders. And I'm going to tell you, there would be no WSLR, there would be no Fogartyville without Dave and Arlene. We owe them a great deal of gratitude. We're also here tonight to introduce the next generation of leaders. Of course, Dave and Arlene are stepping away from their roles, and we have new people taking their places, and you'll get to meet them later this evening. So let's start with a little gratitude. I'd like to start by thanking our partner sponsors, and we have a few. Carolyn Fitzpatrick, who could not be with us tonight, but let's hear for Carolyn. Lancaster and Ure. Lancaster and Ure, I think you're here. There they are. Did I say that right? All right. The Jane Family Foundation. Jane Graham-Boucher is a fellow board member. She's doing great work here at WSLR in Fogartyville and a #1 conservationist. Thank you, Jane. And let's not forget the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. Where are you? Let's hear it for them. There they are. All right, and now our champion sponsors tonight, Heather Campbell. Heather, where are you? Thank you so much. We appreciate you. You're wonderful. Thank you. The Gulf Coast Community Foundation, let's hear it for them. They're in the house. And last but not least, I talked about conservation. Probably, in my estimation, the #1 conservationist, somebody who is passionate about protecting our natural world and our wildlife, Elizabeth Moore. Thank you so much for being with us. And we really, genuinely appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
So I have the privilege of introducing Rob Lori. I told him I wasn't going to say what was bad about him. I'm only going to tell you a few things that were so great. And that is that he was the co-founder and former News and Public Affairs Director at WMNF Community Radio from 1978 till 2021. Yeah, I mean, acknowledge that, please. And by the way, my name is Jane Graham-Boucher, and you know, I could say so much about Rob, and that he had the longest running public affairs radio in the history of public radio, which I don't know if y'all listened to Radioactivity, but how many listened to Radioactivity? I mean, how great was that program? And I always say about Rob, he trained me how to be with people. Because I would go, Rob, I go, how can he be so great with people that call in and were such jerks? But he was always so incredibly great. So thank you for that, Rob. And then the other thing I want you to know about him is that he's the host and managing editor of Florida This Week on WEDU. And if you haven't watched that, it's something I tape every week because we find out what's going on in Florida. So Rob, you've been the voice, gosh, of public radio. Thank you so much for your huge contribution. So let's welcome Rob Lori.
Somebody just asked, was there bad stuff to Jane? And we don't have enough time for that. So Jane, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And it's nice to see so many ex-WMNF volunteers here in the crowd. You stole all our great volunteers. So congratulations to Dave and Arlene on this big night. What a place this is, WSLR and Fogartyville. What an accomplishment. I got to say, sitting up in Tampa in my office and then seeing the concerts and seeing the events at Fogartyville, I was always jealous, Arlene and Dave, that you were putting on so many great events, and we weren't keeping up in Tampa. And we were founded in 1978, 79. But congratulations, because you guys did a bang-up job, and congratulations to all the WSLR volunteers, because this is quite an accomplishment. We have nothing like this at WMNF, I've got to say. It's just incredible. Arlene and Dave have made many smart moves too, and you're on sound and good financial footing. And that's what we thought about at MNF all the time, is how to make our place sustainable. And we always thought that if we provided something that nobody else provided, and we searched up and down the radio dial, and we found back in the day big band and reggae and blues was not on the radio, classic R&B was not on the radio. There were so many things that are not on the radio. We filled up our schedule with that, and we filled it up with good news and public affairs. And sure enough, it worked. And that's what's going on here too. We also figured that we rely on listener donations as a way to do it. So in our first fund drive, this is back in it's a very different era today than it was back then. But during our first fund drive, we encouraged people to call up, make donations, or to come down to the station and make donations. So one night, guy came to WMNF in the middle of the night at our old building at 305 South Boulevard, and he had a big white beard and a big cowboy hat, dressed all in white, impeccably dressed. And he came in and he said, "I want to make a donation." And we said, "Great." And we thought, well, maybe this guy will give us $20 or $50 or $100. And he pulls from his pocket a big baggie of a white substance. And he asked if we have any aluminum foil. Well, we had aluminum foil. So he shakes out this bag, and there's about an ounce of this unknown powder right there. And I'm with the station manager, Janine Farver, and we thank the guy for his donation, and we quickly shuffle him out the door, and now we're scared as heck. And we're thinking, we just opened up, the police are going to close us down, the headlines in the newspaper are going to be terrible. And so I did what any normal person would do when faced with something like this. I took a little bit of the powder and put it on my gum. Sure enough. So you know what we did with it? We flushed it down the toilet. But I'm sure it could have powered the radio station for a month. So it used to be that, there were radio stations, there were newspapers, and there were TV stations. That's what happened when we were founded, and that's kind of the way WSLR started. But now we live in this quite different media environment. We've got to figure out, what do we do? My kids, who are in their 30s, don't listen to radio anymore, and yet they lived in a radio household. So how do we get kids to listen to what we do? I mean, we're sitting on something really valuable here at WSLR, and that is the website that we have and the streaming that we put out. It's an incredibly powerful tool because it gets worldwide. So if you're in Malaysia, if you're in Spain, wherever you are, you can hear the sound of WSLR, which is powerful. We never envisioned that when we started WMNF. Back in the day, the Tampa Bay Times, which was the biggest regional newspaper in the area, had about 400 staff, editors, photographers, writers, etc., editorial people. And now the Tampa Bay Times, as it slid in revenue, is down to maybe 40 or 50 staff who are writing editorial content and doing the photography and all that. They're a shadow of what they were. And the funny thing is, we always looked up to the newspapers and thought how powerful they were. Now, former newspaper reporters are coming to WMNF, and they're applying for jobs. And they're doing shows at WMNF, where I used to work. By the way, I got fired from MNF, but I still love the place. And Arlene and Dave, congratulations on not getting fired and getting out of town before you get fired. But I think the key value that we got to think about is sustainability. How do we make what we do here at WSLR sustainable? How do we pay our way? How do we continue without selling out, without giving up our values, by staying committed to why we were originally founded? How do we continue to be sustainable? And I think you guys have found a good way to do that. But I'm not sure how to do it in the future. And I think we got to leave it up to people like Jesse, who's coming on board, and all the other staff. Jesse, congratulations on the job. Because old people like me and Dave and Arlene can't see the future like Jesse can and like all the young people can. And we owe it to them to leave this place good, better than we found it, but then get out of their way and let them take over. Is that okay with you, Jesse? Yeah, all right. I just want to say the founders of community radio were peace activists, they were libertarians, they were left-wing activists, they were Quakers, they were intellectuals. They got together in Berkeley, California and said radio could be better than what it is today. Today I say that all media that we watch and listen to could be better and bring itself up to the standards of WSLR. There's so much repetition. There's so much repetition on places like, and I like to watch it, but there's so much repetition on places like CNN and MSNBC. There's so many questions that they don't deal with. There's so many voices that they keep out. There's so many books that they don't talk about. There's so many discussions they never had. The founders of KPFA in Berkeley said, we want to have debates. We want to have the best theater. We want to have the greatest classical music. And we want to have speeches, and we want to be leaders, thought leaders in what we do. And I still think, and that goes back to 1948, I still think that's our mission today. There's a huge hole in the media, and that's our job. We've got to fill that hole that's out there. And so there's no doubt we have a future. It's going to be decided by the younger generation. It's not going to be decided by people that look like me. Let me just say one thing as I say goodbye, and that is that we did our first open house at WMNF in 1979, and hundreds of people came into this old house at 305 South Boulevard. The house was a classic Hyde Park bungalow, if you guys have ever been to Hyde Park in Tampa. And hundreds of people came through, and hundreds of people were enthusiastic, except one guy. He was the last guy that came through. And he looked at our studios. We had built the studios by hand. We had built the control board by hand. We had soundproofed by hand. We did everything by hand. The record library was in an old bathroom. And this guy came up to us, to our manager and me, and said, you know, this is great, but there's this new thing on cable television. It's called MTV. And that's going to replace you guys. And you guys are going to be out of business. And that's just going to take 5 or 7 years. This is in 1979. Well, we all know what happened to MTV. It's playing old movies. And MNF is still there. And SLR is still here. So remember, we still have a role. Don't give up. And don't listen to the naysayers. And congratulations to Dave and Arlene for all the great stuff that you guys have done.
My name is Andrew Hudson, and I've been given the honor of introducing Dave and Arlene, and I'm going to do that by playing you a song, and then, okay, Dave, help me out here. Even when we're honoring them, they are doing all this work. Isn't that great? What a guy. What a guy. And of course, Arlene is basically organizing her own going away parties. I wrote this song when Dave and Arlene were closing the original Fogartyville in Bradenton. Yeah, how many of you were at the original Fogartyville? What a wonderful place. Literally an old bus station. Had the aura of that. And so appropriate to that and to this occasion, this song is called Closing Time. There's a sign on the wall in the men's room exhorting us to love thyself. And there's a guy drinking beers at the bar now. Hope he comes in, I think it might help. And I emerged to hear, thinking about the girl I lost a year before. Wish it was a freight train, maybe wish it was a diesel locomotive. I'd come whistling down your track, crashing through your door. Wish it was a freight train, maybe wish you didn't have a heart. You'd have to shovel me full of coal just to get me started. Wish it was a freight train, maybe wish it was a freight train. Then I go to my house until I can't go home to Fogartyville. Where there's a sign above the toilet in the men's room. It says supporting women is good or something like that. And I am all for it, but I must admit I moved it so I'd see it when I sit. And Arlene moved it back. Wings and take to flight. Whoa, whoa, come on and stand. Come on now, stand. Stand, plant your sword in the sand. In this age of amazing, there's a time and a season for love. Stand. I know you can. Then I go to my house until I can go home to Fogartyville. Where there's a sign on the wall in the women's room. Men's fault. I was there only once or twice, but it was very nice, and the signs on the wall were just as cool. And I emerged to hear Dave at the soundboard. A bass voice warms for one last show. Bob sings a song about change and passing, and we are sad, but what a way to go. We go on with our day and go on with our evening, through all our confessions and little white lies. We're saying goodbye to a whole way of living, and we're the less for it as each cowboy dies. Thank you. Thank you. Long live Fogartyville. And long live the people I want to introduce to you. When I was asked to introduce Dave and Arlene, I said, okay, that confirms something for me that I have suspected for a long time, which is that there is nobody qualified to introduce everything that Arlene and Dave have done. I am not involved in the radio station. How can anybody not involved in the radio station introduce Dave and Arlene. There's so many stories. In fact, let's just, show of hands, how many people have been involved in the radio station? Just look at that. Every one of these people could tell stories about Dave and Arlene. How about people who've been involved in Fogartyville, this side, the performance space? See a bunch of hands out there. There is actually a third organization, that's the one I was involved in, the Peace Education and Action Center. How many people have been involved in the Peace Center? I see a couple hands in the back. In case you don't know, in addition to founding WSLR, in addition to having 2 Fogartyvilles, whereas nobody else has any, Dave and Arlene, and especially Arlene, founded the Peace Education and Action Center. She sat down next to me at the old Fogartyville one day. I was just kind of minding my business. She sits down and she says, okay, we're going to have a peace center, Peace Education Action Center. It sells peace, sort of. And it's going to bring peace into the schools, and we're going to take on this school board that's recalcitrant, and we're also going to do it in Sarasota County, and we're going to have a peace, a conference, and we're going to have a peace library, and we're going to, of course, have nonviolent communication, and we're going to have, and then she took a breath, and I said, okay, hello, nice to see you. And I thought about the fact that they were starting a radio station. And with most people, this would be a sign that they are biting off too much. And yet, everything came to pass. And I bring up the Peace Center because for those of you who know Dave and Arlene as whirlwinds who accomplish great amounts of stuff, and that's all true, what's really great about Dave and Arlene is a deep commitment to nonviolence and to movements for peace and justice. And they are very deep people. So let's have a big hand for the founders of WSLR, Dave Beaton and Arlene Sweeting.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here. This is an exciting night for us all. Change the media, change the world. That was the slogan for a media reform conference that Dave and I attended in Boston in 2011. It's part of the reason we started WSLR, because we believe the world does need to change. And we believe telling our stories, covering local issues, holding government accountable, and giving marginalized people a voice is too important to leave to corporate media. We need community-owned, community-operated media. Yes! We need a place for people to experience what it's like to be the media, whether it's a student trying journalism for the first time, an engaged citizen wanting to make a difference in their community, or a music lover gaining confidence on the mic to share the music they're passionate about with our listeners. Think about how important the media we consume is. Every issue we care about, every struggle that we fight is communicated through media. We see the images in newspapers and magazines, we see the actions and inactions of those in power on television, and we hear the stories over our airwaves. In a time of growing polarization, media consolidation, privatization, and exploitation of community resources that threaten the basic fabric of local communities, WSLR demonstrates that a different path is possible. We've created a space for people to build trust, empathy, and connection while celebrating our shared strengths and creativity and deepening a truly local conversation about creating a community that works for everyone. Through music, conversation, spoken word performances, educational programming, and more, WSLR reflects and celebrates one of Sarasota's greatest strengths, its diversity. And we're guided by a commitment to lift up voices not often heard in other media. The programs at WSLR in Fogartyville offer people a chance to engage, listen to, and learn from each other. And we've had the opportunity to engage, learn from, and listen to many wonderful people over the years. And I'm going to share a couple stories with you. Someone that made a deep impression on me when he visited Fogartyville in the early years when it was still in Bradenton was Derek Jensen. I wonder if anyone out there, if you raise your hand, if you know who Derek Jensen is. I knew my table over there would know. All right. So he's a radical environmental philosopher, and his words have really stuck with me over the years. He talked about the end of hope, saying, no matter what environmentalists do, we're losing. Those in power are destroying the planet, and most people don't seem to care. In speaking to college students, he had done an exercise to develop a definition of hope, and this is what they came up with. Hope is a longing for a future condition over which you have no agency. It means you are essentially powerless. So when he came to Fogartyville, Derek was fighting to save the salmon in the Pacific Northwest, working to bring down some of the dams and free the rivers. And this is what he said. He said, I do not hope coho salmon survive. I will do whatever it takes to make sure the dominant culture doesn't drive them to extinction. He saw it this way. When we stop hoping for external assistance, when we stop hoping that the awful situation we're in will somehow resolve itself, when we stop hoping the situation will somehow not get worse, then we are finally free to honestly start working to resolve it. In short, Derek's message was, when hope dies, action begins. So every time I hear someone use that word hope, and every time I use it, which I do, and there are many contexts in which to use it, but I do a double take, and I ask myself, what can I actually do to make the change I wish to see happen, and not just hope for it? Another person that we brought to town that had an incredible impact on my life was Coleman McCarthy. He was a longtime columnist for the Washington Post, but more importantly, he was the founder of the Center for Teaching Peace in Washington, D.C., where he taught peace to high school and college students and worked to expand academic programs in peace studies across the country. He was a man of faith, an anarchist, a pacifist, a vegan, someone that held his convictions so strongly and so deeply that you couldn't help but be moved by him. I spent a weekend studying nonviolence with McCarthy in North Carolina, and he is the reason I founded the Peace Education and Action Center here in Sarasota. One of the things he would say was, we know all about the men who break the peace, but not much about the women who make the peace. And he would illustrate this point before college audiences by asking students to identify certain individuals. He'd start by asking students if they could identify some of the following men: Ulysses S. Grant, Robert E. Lee, Napoleon Bonaparte. Of course, lots of hands in the room would go up with students eager to answer and identify those individuals. Then he would pull out a $100 bill to sweeten the pot and offer it to anyone who could identify the next three individuals he named. And he would name folks like Emily Balch, May Reed Corrigan, Jody Williams. They were all winners of the Nobel Peace Prize, and very rarely could anyone identify them. He never lost his $100. He believed that if violence is a learned behavior, so is peacemaking. So if we truly want peace, we should teach peace. It made sense to me. Another thing he would say is, if you want to make a difference in this world, be different. For me, that points to our need to challenge the status quo. The Reverend Martin Luther King put it this way: the saving of our world will come not through the complacent adjustment of the conforming majority, but through the creative maladjustment of a non-conforming minority. When the drum beats for war are sounding, WSLR will bring you voices of dissent. These voices outside the mainstream, outside the halls of power, are so important in not only challenging our thinking, but in challenging unjust systems. And when I think about systems in this country, just about every system I can think of is broken in some way. Our food system, broken. Our healthcare system, broken. Our education system, our political system, our media system, broken. And if you're someone who has a higher than average income, you might not feel the brokenness in these systems. But if you're at the other end of the income spectrum, you feel it a lot more. So there's work to be done. And there are a lot of people in this room tonight doing the work. And I want you to know that WSLR and Fogartyville are here to support you in that work. So, if you are connected to this organization through Dave and I, your job tonight is to start building relationships with our new team. And I'm going to introduce you to all of them in just a few minutes. But first, I'm going to let my partner, the real visionary behind WSLR in Fogartyville, have his say, Mr. Dave Beaton.
Okay. This is not a usual position for me, so bear with me. We know that hope is not enough. We need to move from hope to believe in change, and then action comes. You are all here, you are all believers, and you are activists. And all of you in the house fit into one of those two categories, or you wouldn't be here tonight. Now, I have a favor to ask. Do people know what mic check is? So I say mic check, you say mic check. Mic check. We have to recognize some folks today. It's time to say their name if you want to repeat their name. Bill Massey, Mr. Bill. William Pearson, Dr. Nick. Billy Weatherington, Hambone Willie. We lost these three believers this year. And many others we have lost along the way. We need to remember and thank Eve Plews, Danny C., Cool Breeze, Mr. Rhythm, David Ruggles, and many others. These are all folks that helped build this place, day in and day out. They had a great spirit. And I want to send out some gratitude to the super crew in the house. JFK. Let's say Chris Rouse. Mark Cracker. Dee Franklin. Ken Seraphin. And many others. And I send the gratitude to the super crew. And there's a couple of them that are missing. John Dickman, Purple Mike, Dave Ryman. Thank you. We could not have done it without you. They're a very unselfish team. And of course, all the programmers, the speakers, the filmmakers, the board members, the past and present ones who are here tonight and ones that have gone on, and the artists, more believers, all of them. And of course, last and the biggest thank you goes to my partner, Arlene. Arlene Sweeting. For believing what is possible, and for working arm in arm, tirelessly, and for supporting me on our journey to change, educate, and entertain the community. I love you. So years ago, I got out of work at MCC, and I walked into the old Fogartyville. And after a long day, I was greeted there by an imposing gentleman in a cowboy hat, sitting on the couch in the front of the front. He was not communicating with me, and as I got to the rear of Fogartyville, I ran into another gentleman, a peaceful man, who seemed to be praying. He advised me to go speak to the man on the couch. The man on the couch was making a demand of me. He wanted to play 3 straight nights at the cafe. And I had only booked the group for 1. I realized then that all people who enter Fogartyville need to be my neighbor, and that we need to come to some understanding, the cowboy and the sound man. What we needed was a symbiotic relationship, which involves interaction between 2 different organisms living in close physical association, denoting a mutual beneficially relationship. Needless to say, the cowboy and his band was Fred Eaglesmith and the Flying Squirrels. They played the next 3 nights, sold out shows all, and they lived in their beater broke-down bus in our parking lot. We became good friends. So in the 70s, a famed bioscientist, Lynn Margulis, said, symbiosis is the driving force of evolution. And she had to keep saying it for 20 years before it was accepted. We accept it here. We are evolving through symbiosis, working together, dancing with our Mother Earth. We created a station and a space where we are all neighbors. Mic check. Howdy, neighbor, howdy. Howdy, neighbor, howdy. A space where folks can have a shared experience with music or a movie or a presentation, where for an evening we feel united in the struggle to breathe change into the dominant culture, or an evening where we have an awe moment with a world-class performer. The barriers are down. We feel united in these moments. These moments make us feel alive beyond ourselves, and we appreciate our fellow humans, their art, their info, and their being. We know we can't do this alone, for the gathering together is essential for hope, and then belief, and then change will come. For there is power anywhere there is people, as Black Panther brother Fred Hampton says, written on this building. So we gather here at WSLR Fogartyville, and I want to thank you all with much gratitude and keep standing. Thank you.
I have one more story for you. So, you guys are the best. So to close, I want to share a story about our beginning. And I know some of you in the room have heard it before, but I want to share it tonight because it captures the spirit of community radio. You know, I had no radio experience prior to starting WSLR. It was Dave's vision and his days in college radio and our exposure to WMNF in Tampa that made us think that investing our time in a low-power radio station was something that could have an impact. In 2004 and 2005, we had a ragtag team of students and activists that believed in this dream and helped us build it. They were the best of times, people who shared a deep commitment to making the world a better place, a more just place, coming together to build something they believed could bring change to a community. We had Sarah Allen, a radio engineer that had helped a small low-power station in New Orleans stay on the air after Hurricane Katrina. She knew well the benefit of these stations during emergencies. Andy Gunn, an engineer from Prometheus Radio in Philadelphia, an organization that travels all over the country to help LPFMs get on the air. We had new college students, Sarah Kell and Bo Bentley, Green Party members, Jason Beck, Captain Wayne Gunther, and Pam Marweedy. And we had Gary Olson, who's in the room tonight. Believing in that ragtag crew, Gary, thank you so much for being with us that whole time. And Dave and I, what a great team! So, Sarah led a team at the studio at the house on Myrtle Street, the former crack house, and Andy led a team installing the transmitter and antenna in Rick Farmer's backyard on a 35-foot pole because at the last minute, the 18-story building in downtown Sarasota where we were supposed to have our antenna pulled it out. So Rick, Quaker, good Quakers, they let us put it in his backyard. All right. When it came time to flip the switch to put the station on the air, Sarah turned to me and gave me the honor. What a moment. The culmination of all our work. After the broadcast went live, she turned to me and said, Arlene, do you remember what FM stands for? Ever the good student? I said, of course, frequency modulation. And she shook her head and she looked at me. She said, no, Arlene, it's fucking magic. And she's right. For 20 years, it's been magic, you guys. It's been so great to build this with all of you in this room. And the best is yet to come. And how do I know that? Because we have an incredible team, and they're going to help this place continue to grow and thrive, and I am going to introduce them to you right now. So if my staff can make their way up to the front. I want to first let you know, Joe Vermilia couldn't be with us tonight. So Joe is working with us in a part-time capacity. His full-time job right now has him on tour with the Rolling Stones. He was one of the developers of the AARP Rocks initiative. So he travels with the Stones and puts on auxiliary events for AARP, trying to build new memberships. So he's off on tour right now, but he's been working with Dave on contracts and negotiation and kind of learning all the technical needs on this side of the building. So we'll look forward to having him back in the fall. We have Robin Russell. Where's Robin? Oh, here she comes, looking beautiful tonight. Robin worked with us this year in a part-time capacity, a grant-funded position. Come on up here on community engagement, and she has been absolutely phenomenal. She put together our singer-songwriter series. She and Mitzi Ito, who I think may be out there somewhere, put the Death Talk series together, the Trad Jam series. She just introduced Fogartyville to so many new people. She's amazing. Thank you, Robin. Where is Johannes Warner? Get up here, Johannes. Woo! Our first full-time news director. Wow. He has transformed our news department, increased our local coverage, and actually, the Herald Tribune actually reached out to us this week to break a story for them. We're taking over. But he had an early connection to WSLR. He hosted the Florida Caribe show, sharing the news of Latin America and the Caribbean with us for many years. And there's no one that I have more confidence or more trust in when it comes to continuing the values and the mission of this organization. Leon Kerber, come on up. Leon, our new program director for WSLR. Also has an early connection here. He's played in many bands, those of you that are familiar with the local music scene. The Three Jeffs, Fiasco, Big Blue House. He has a special place of honor in the painting up there in our rafters. You can check that out. But he's been learning the ropes and doing a great job. We're so glad to have him as part of the team. Ariel Aparicio Gero. Ariel comes to us after a career as an independent musician and restaurant management in New York for 20 years. And I tell you, he walked into the room for the interview, and his personality just knocked us all over. You know, he's amazing. It's just been great to add him, and he's going to make sure this place just runs so smoothly. You're going to love it. Miss Lisa Bone, where is Miss Lisa? Come on up here. Lisa was our office manager for a short time. She currently serves as our bar manager, and you know what? There is not a more wonderful person in the world than Lisa Bone. If you know her, you know that's true. She's creative, generous, compassionate, so all about music, all about community. And you know what's even better is along with Lisa, we get her wonderful partner, Charlie. We get her daughter, Sasha. We sometimes get her son, Nicholas. It's a family affair. Kathleen Murray, get on up here. This was a gift from God, this woman. She is so amazing, our communications and marketing director. She grew up in and around Woodstock, immersed in music and politics. She's a former journalist. She assists with our student journalism internship program and will be taking over the editing of our quarterly newspaper, The Critical Times. She's got her hands in everything. She's amazing. She's also the host of Artbeat. Diana Bregman, get on up here, Diana, our office and volunteer coordinator. She was made for this place, you guys. She's a huge music lover and an incredible people person. She has a history in environmental and outdoor education, volunteer coordinating, animal husbandry, and farm management. Who would have guessed? She's also the cat lady. You can tune in to the Cat's Meow on Wednesday nights at WSLR. And that brings us finally to our new general manager, Mr. Jesse Coleman, everyone. Woo! Jesse has been our station manager for 2 years, and I have come to appreciate his wisdom, his compassion. He is a gentle soul, a good soul, and I just have complete confidence in him taking this station to the next level and this space. So you guys are in such good hands, and we are going to show you in a very special way. You're going to love it. What good hands you are in. All right, so we got to get a little organized here. So the song we're going to sing for you was written by Pete Seeger and Lee Hayes in 1949 as an anthem for many progressive concerns of the day, and most specifically, the labor movement. Pete Seeger is another person with a place of honor in our rafters up there. That painting was made by a Cuban artist after one of Dave and our trips to Cuba. And we love having Pete up there. And you know what? He was a musician, he was an activist, and he believed that people should sing together in groups with harmony, not just in church, but everywhere. That a special, unity, it's right? Singing together can break down barriers. So we're going to sing with you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Take it away, guys.
Here we go.
Woo! Well, thank you everyone for singing along with us. And the message of that song is that we have the tools we need to change the world, but we can't do it alone. We do it together. We do it with all of you as we continue to work for peace, justice, democracy, sustainability, and health care for all.